You're watching Life Report, pro-life talk, real-world answers. Life Report trains people to more effectively defend their pro-life beliefs while honestly examining the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. We're the show other pro-lifers may have warned you about. This is Life Report.
Welcome to Life Report.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm Josh Brum, your host. We have Liz Goddard. We have Andrew Nemi here. Why are you laughing at me at the moment?
No, I'm not laughing
This
at you.
time.
I'm actually laughing at Andrew and I because our response to Welcome to Life Report was, yay!
She had
Wow.
was
I'm
like-
really excited to meet
she
you.
just had coffee.
Seriously.
I did.
And she's in a very
And
happy
a lot
place.
of dark
And
chocolate.
It's great.
Whoa, your eyes were like...
This was my concern when I bought that stuff. I was like, everyone's going to be on a sugar and a salt and
No.
a caffeine high.
No, you can get a salt high?
I don't know, but you should
Like
be
a
able to. We had
contact high from
chocolate-covered pretzels, so I mean...
Yes, which was amazing. Josh
already
made
talking
my
faster.
day.
You're talking faster than usual, I swear. We're going to do a side-by-side comparison, but go ahead. How did I make your day?
Josh made my day because he gave into my request. we had a meeting a while back about how to make the show, how to make us more excited on the show, how to keep momentum going, and my suggestion was we should have candy.
Yeah.
And caffeine.
Yes.
Because that's what
Artificial
Seriously,
pick-me-ups.
It's gonna be a great
Seriously,
show.
apparently is what makes you run. Because you're easily like at 300% energy.
No,
Now.
What are you saying she's using?
I'm hamming it up, but I came in
1/3
here.
of this. Do the math.
I
Okay,
came
go
in
ahead.
here and there's a bowl of M&Ms, and not just any M&Ms. These are peanut butter M&Ms.
The best
Not
kind.
And
peanuts.
it just gets better because then there's chocolate covered pretzels. I almost cried, and then with a glow around it, my absolute favorite, Dove dark chocolates.
It was great. I've never gotten such a big hug from Liz in my life.
I did. I ran and found him and
Great.
gave him a big hug.
It was really nice.
I'm a very shallow human being. I just want my chocolate and sugar,
So,
caffeine.
Great content to start the show.
we have great content to start the show. This is going to be a good show. I've been thinking about this topic now for about a month. We got a comment on our YouTube channel a month ago, obviously.
We are on top of things.
We're on top of things. And, well, I responded immediately. In fact, I even posted on the podcast site as just kind of a blog entry because I'm trying to write a little bit more often. And we had a few people kind of respond. I've had too much candy too, and
It's gonna be a great episode.
and she posted something interesting that I don't think I had gotten quite this response before. It was like, this is going to make a good show topic. So there's kind of a couple of different things as she says. We're going to kind of respond to two main arguments that she gave,
Okay.
kind of against our show.
kind of.
The first thing she said was this. This was her initial comment. She said, "We will go on." We being pro-lifers. She's pro-life.
Gotcha.
We will go on trying to persuade people that abortion is wrong because we attempt to find a crack in their heart. God can use any of those lame arguments because really, we aren't in charge. Charles Manson still doesn't believe grossly killing a pregnant woman and her child was wrong. Ultimately, it's a person's conscience that dictates their ability to believe truth. Listening to the Holy Spirit works best. Responses.
I 100% agree, and I 100% disagree. If that could make any sense, which logically,
Not
Well,
really.
right now you're
It
at
can't.
300% anyway.
there
so
you go.
You're fully...
So I still have 100% to go on
I'm at
commentary.
200% somewhere. How? Or do they
No.
break even?
She is right. She is right. I mean, a person, we cannot just change people's hearts. If you have,
Yep.
if you do believe that God changes and He's the one who works through hearts, then you can't believe that you yourself have the ultimate power to do so. But that being said, we still drive our cars with our eyes open. We still, if we go to the grocery store and we're counting out change, we think about it and we try to count it out correctly. Just the things that we do in life, we try to do well.
And wisely.
Or we should try to do well and wisely, even though God's in control. I mean, He's the one who tells us to be as crafty
Right.
as serpents,
Right.
or as wise in some translations.
Right.
But yet as innocent as doves.
So the fact that the Holy Spirit is the one that's actually changing hearts does not mean that we're supposed to leave our brains at the door.
Well, no, because
Is that
I
what
mean,
you're saying?
I could tell
That's
people.
what I'm saying.
I could tell people that you should be to be pro-life. All you have to do is look at women and say, I don't know. I can't even think of a really, really terrible argument to say. right now, but you could just yell at a woman that I'm totally blanking.
Abortion feels bad.
Yeah, exactly. Something
It
just
hurts.
that not so meaty or anything that has a lot of weight to it, and just hope God uses it.
Right.
Which he can, but you could also look at getting an actual
Like-
argument.
Well,
something political.
and the fact is, we don't know where God's working in what, like what we're doing. We don't know where we're planting seeds or what we're doing to cultivate those seeds or in anything, whether it is the pro-life issue or whether it's someone's spiritual walk or their belief.
Right.
But just because he can use anything. I mean, he used Moses, and I mean, we all think of Moses and we think, oh, great, but he continually is like
terrible public speaker too.
horrible.
Right.
But yeah, I think that it would be foolish for us to say that those weaker arguments or just kind of the shallow or something really primitive or basic, that it can't be used, would be foolish of us to say.
Right.
But at the same time,
Right.
I agree. I think it's God gave us minds to be able and we should be stewards of our minds and be able to cultivate and cultivate. It's the second time I used that already, I think.
It's a good word though.
Well, it's 3 syllables.
Get you a lot of
I was
points
like
in
way
Scrabble.
up there. No, but just that we shouldn't shy away from expanding our knowledge of or
Right.
learning more.
And to add to that, though, I think it is important to be aware of things that you're being led to do in a conversation, and things that you can observe from a person. I remember having a conversation on a college campus where I tried every logical argument, and I was going and going and going, and I felt like I'd used all of the mind power that I had on this person. And finally, I ended up telling a story. And I told the story of what my family went through when my niece was born at 27 weeks and didn't live. And so I told that story. It was like, I felt like I was my last resort because I felt like I was like moving down to emotion, away from logic. But that's what the person connected with. And
Right.
that's, that as an argument by itself, I would have probably considered lame.
Right.
If I had started with that, but that's what did it for her. So that is another
Right.
thing that those can be used.
Absolutely.
Arguments that we wouldn't consider the best arguments can be the mover in a conversation. But that doesn't mean we should always start with them.
And the best, even using that, the best, there's many different ways that we could look at what would be considered the best. The best being the most structured or sound argument is not going to be the most successful necessarily.
Especially if you're not a
always.
logical
Not
person.
always.
Yeah, that's what I think is the point that's trying to be made, is that just because we have an extremely well structured, designed, articulated argument doesn't mean it's going to be successful.
Right. At the
Right.
same time, one of the things that I told Judah when I wrote back to her was that 1 Peter 3:15 admonishes Christians to be ready to give a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you with gentleness and respect. The author does not say that God will use any lame argument, so just improvise some Jesus talk when someone asks about the hope that is in you. That's not what the verse says. And so we want to engage, we want to try to do the best that we can as God's, if we're the hands and feet of Christ, and we're supposed to do His work, then we want to do the best that we can, especially if what we're talking about is as important as abortion, and then
Right.
pray for the person and pray that that what we said was effective, that God would move their hearts. It seems like that's a winning combination.
Right. And again, we shouldn't criticize or really judge people's hearts when they use what we consider lame arguments
Right.
and judge their intentions, because rather we should gently try to train those people to use more sufficient and well thought out arguments that are logically sound, so that if somebody does come along and try to pick apart their argument,
Right.
they have something to stand on. They have a foundation.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. So I kind of responded to her, and she actually had a pretty decent response. She was kind of seeing some of my points,
Okay.
and her next comment was not as kind of pointed, but she did ask, I think, a good question, and she had only seen one of our episodes. At least that's the impression I got. She had seen one where we were talking about the bad, that it's not very helpful to talk about how the economy is adversely affected by abortion. It shouldn't be our main abortion
It's not
argument.
as important as human life.
It's not as important.
Right.
So C asked this because I kind of explained the purpose of our show and how we have pointed out we've pointed out basically three weak pro-life arguments. We've talked about the economic one. We also talked about how abortion is not wrong just because it's hurt women. If we think abortion does hurt women, but that's not what makes it immoral or why it should be illegal. And we've also talked about how it's wrong to point to, well, think of all the people that could have cured cancer or composed
because
a
of the
Beethoven,
Hitler argument.
whatever. Yeah. Those are basically the three bad arguments that we've pointed out on the show, and I kind of explained those to her, and then explained we're also teaching people how to give good arguments. What are the best pro-life talking points? And her question was this. She said, my question though would be, are the pro-choicers that listen to our show gaining ammo for their future debates with pro-lifers, and that is the reason for those comments. If you are equipping the quote-unquote enemy with ammo, then lives are being lost at the clinics.
Well, here's what I would like to say to that.
Interesting.
If we do have pro-choicers that listen to the show, then they are doing research. So yes, they are going to have more. I mean, and when I used to do a debate, the first thing you do is go to the other side and try to pick apart their stuff before building up your stuff. You choose their points and try to attack them.
Right.
So, to answer her question, yes, they are getting more ammo.
Yep.
But really, that's not necessarily at fault. I don't believe it at the fault of us.
Well, no, you could find it anywhere.
Exactly.
You can find it at lots of different places.
Well, to be fair, though, I will just say there's not anybody else that probably has talked as much about those three weak pro-life arguments as we have. As far as I know, we talk about it more than. I mean, if you Google bad pro-life arguments, you don't find a whole lot of stuff. It's kind of one of the reasons that I do want us to talk about it sometimes.
Right, but look at us three. I mean, none of us are. You might object, but none of us are geniuses in here.
No, we're not.
We don't have advanced degrees of higher thought.
No.
I almost have my BA.
We're standing on very, very tall shoulders.
But exactly. So it's not like we are uncovering terrible dark secrets about the pro-life movement and throwing them out there.
No.
But I think it's a matter of the truth. I mean, what are we supposed to do? Just sit here and allow people to make poor arguments when there are pro-lifers who want to make the best arguments? And then finally, I hope that every pro-choicer who watches our show becomes pro-life.
Right.
I mean, if you're watching our show and you're pro-choice, if you stay that way for a long time, I'm worried there's something wrong with our show. Or or you're not opening your heart and your mind enough to what we say at points. I mean, frankly, I'm glad that we have an atmosphere that's not as judgmental, where people can listen to us and be pro-choice. But I also hope that they don't stay pro-choice.
That's certainly our hope, and that was an interesting question. I think Judy even asked me after I explained. We actually do have some pro-choice people that listen, and so he was like, well, are they still pro-choice? And I don't know.
Good.
I know I've had great dialogues with some of our pro-choice listeners, and it seems like that's helped. But I don't think I've yet had someone come to me and be like, I became pro-life just because I listened to your show. Because maybe we haven't covered all the different kind of questions that pro-choice people might have in their mind that would kind of block them from that.
Yeah, and Andrew, you had a great point about researching the other side. Because, I've done the same thing. If I'm writing a paper or doing a speech or something where I'm going to be taking a particular angle, you do go to the other side to find out what the flaws are. So that could be something else that's happening too, where some people do look for us for that type of ammo. But I hope that our arguments can withstand that. That what we talk about on the show.
Yeah, and that's what we do is we go look at their stuff and pick it apart.
Yeah, you do it all the time.
Oh,
we talk about it on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
I would hope that no one, including her, that would say that we favor overly criticizing or siding with pro-choicers on any level.
Right.
We do that with the point of strengthening those arguments.
Yes.
We pick them apart with the intent and purpose of strengthening those arguments because of the ones that are the most common, because of the ones that are easily lost in arguments or in debates. That is our objective. So, yes, if someone listens to 5 minutes of our show, they might have that conclusion because they see us picking it apart.
Right.
But if you take it, encompassing the whole show, then
the goal here is to help pro-lifers to make better arguments and to be as effective and clear as possible, because we think that the pro-life position is the correct one that does have the most explanatory power. And